sudden terror on Bourbon Street.
There were just bodies and the screams. You cannot think about, unhear that. It was chaos and very, very scary.
Everything in the car is hitting, it's getting thrown.
The vehicle ran through a crowd of people. There's multiple injuries, multiple casualties. They need to canal in Bourbon.
Just hours after the clock struck midnight, the driver in a pickup truck went around barricades, according to police, killing those celebrating New Year's Eve along the iconic street. At least 15 people were killed, dozens others injured.
This is not just an act of terrorism. This is evil.
The suspect, identified as Shamsud-Din Jabbar, a 42-year-old man from Texas who previously served in the U.S. military.
Wow. Prayers are going up to the families and the lives that were taken. The attack in New Orleans during New Year's celebration hits especially close to our community. At least 3 of those killed are actually black, and so is the alleged suspect. Now, for decades, we as black people collectively breathe a sigh of relief when we hear that the shooter or suspect of a mass casualty isn't black. But today, we're talking about when a terrorist looks just like you and I, and how this impacts our community. It's coming up next on Truth Talks, Flat Out.
Truth Tellers, welcome to the show. I'm your host, Ryan Cameron. As always, we got our other co-host. We got my man, Willie Moore Jr.
Welcome to Truth Talks. Today is a big day for us. Cannot wait to share our hearts about this situation. Of course, I wore all black, flat out.
Bree Renee with her Bree Hive.
What's up, Bree Hive? I've been seeing y'all buzzing in the comments, and I'm excited to be right here back with my Truth Talks fam. So let's get into it.
And of course, Dr. Viral, Dr. Cheyenne Bryant.
What's up, Doc Squad? Y'all know what it is. I keep saying it, but I'm going to say it again. It's your favorite Doc who? Dr. Bryant. We're talking about some deep stuff today, though, y'all. I can't wait to get into it.
42-year-old Shamsud-Din Jabbar veered around a police car and drove onto a sidewalk on Bourbon Street, killing 14 people in New Orleans during the holidays. Now, he died in a shootout with police, and we're learning more about the suspect, whose last name was originally Young. And yes, his nationality is African-American, and he grew up Christian.
While investigators believe Jabbar acted alone, the U.S. Army veteran served in Afghanistan, but the FBI says Jabbar proclaimed his support for ISIS in videos posted online. Neighbors, friends, and families describe Jabbar as a very quiet yet cool guy, and they say that they would have never guessed he was capable of doing anything like this. Take a look.
To understand that we're all grieving about this. This wasn't the man I knew. This wasn't the father, the son that I knew. And that also, this isn't any representation of Al-Islam or Muslims or the Muslim community.
Yeah, let's be honest though, y'all. When Americans hear terrorists, we often imagine somebody who is Middle Eastern. And the majority of mass killings here in the U.S. have had a white suspect. When we hear of black murder crimes, it's usually black on black crimes. We don't usually have mass killing sprees, and that's usually not our MO. What has your reaction to learning Jabbar was a mass killer and that he was black? Like, what was y'all reaction when y'all heard that? I was shocked.
Well, when I seen the picture, I said that's a NIGGAH. That's what I said.
It's still the same.
That's what I said. That's fine.
And
then I felt two things. I even left it in the comment under Shade Room. I said I feel heartbroken. I feel disgusted. That's the first thing that came up. Heartbroken, obviously, for the victims.
Absolutely. Okay,
and then disgusted by this man, whether he was black or white. I just felt so I don't care what race he was. This is demonic evil. This is disgusting.
Yeah.
And it's like to hear that he had all these issues, with mental health and debt and he had restraining orders from his previous wives that were on him. I don't think that has anything to do with his decision to do that day. That wasn't a decision that was made within a month, a week, or years. That was already in this man as far as some mental illness and some deep-rooted seeds of some type of sociopathical space that was in him already that continued to get watered. People don't wake up all of a sudden and say, I just want to go run over and mass murder a group of people.
Well, I mean,
that doesn't happen like that.
The thing that we should be really lucky about, the fact that he made all these videos, and I don't usually use a prop on this show, but, you know, he used these actual Ray-Ban glasses, which, of course, you know, he used to scout the location for maybe 2 or 3 days. And there's a video of him riding down the New Orleans Bourbon Street with these glasses on a bicycle. And basically, what he had planned to do was he was going to live stream him doing this attack. Fortunately, it did not work, because right now I can go on Instagram, I can go on all this, and I can go live right now. So his plan was to not only kill all these people, but let the whole entire world see it. Because
Ryan, can you explain to them what those Ray-Bans
okay, so
do?
basically on these, and right now, because the FBI, they did themselves a disservice. They talked about this, but when you put these on, it'll start talking to you in here. But there's also a blue light that flashes that shows that it's being that you're being recorded, right? A lot of people, when you put them on, they look like regular glasses. I use this for New Year's Eve for my countdown. But what also happens with this is that the FBI said he was using these, and now you cannot find them because now they've gone out the window and everybody's trying to buy them. So what they try to do to say, you know, that he was radicalized and all these things has also brought more attention to the fact that these meta glasses are something that everybody's trying to use now.
Yeah, so I'm going to be very honest with you. When I heard that he was an African-American male, I was shocked. I was really shocked. When I heard of the terrorist act, I just automatically thought that it was a Dylan Roof character. But then I realized that he served in Afghanistan. And what I've noticed, the way that the United States decides to treat our veterans,
I was just gonna say
they
that.
do not give them enough treatment when they get out of those very
100%.
unique situations. Now, here's the thing. I'm not giving an excuse for anybody who does a heinous act such as this. But what I'm saying is, when it comes to our veterans, they got to jump through hoops to get money. They got to sit for hours and hours to make sure that they can get the type of medicine that they need. They got to be
Therapy.
there. They got to get therapy. They got to sit at a house to get ADD medicine.
most
They
of them
won't
don't
just send it.
therapy.
And you got to have a psychologist, and you have to jump through hoops. So at the end of the day, a lot of times these veterans are saying, man, I'm not jumping through hoops. I need help, you know it. And they've been through some very traumatic things.
Deeper than that, they have PTSD, they have
deep.
deeply rooted mental illness, and in turn, they're not on their medication because of the horrible health care that they don't get or receive to get therapy or get diagnosis, and it ends up in situations like this, or unfortunately, sometimes suicide.
Yeah.
So this man has been divorced 3 times.
Yeah.
He's had financial problems, and the FBI alleged that he was going to kill his entire family first. By all the videos we've seen in the media, he seems like he may have had it together as a brother. But Dr. B, what's going on psychologically here with this guy?
Again, this is sociopathical, behavior. This is not something that you wake up and you decide you're going to do. These are thoughts that you've been ruminating about a long time ago. These are.
But was he radicalized
ideations.
or was this homegrown? Because he was a U.S. citizen, he was in the military, and to Willie's point, yeah, he also had all these other things going on. But I want to talk about this.
Yeah.
The fact that there were people there who were celebrating the New Year. There was a woman there, a black woman, who her friend was killed. Not only was she run over and her ankle was crushed, he then shot her from the vehicle.
You can hear it.
So
you can hear
it's
it
not,
on there.
the event is always a lot shorter than the recovery. I understand all these problems with the veterans and all that, but this woman, her life has changed forever. There was another woman who was there celebrating her wedding. Her husband would drive, or her husband-to-be would drive hours to come and court her. And then they went there to celebrate New Year's Eve. He is now dead. This is the problem.
Yeah.
Right. So let me say this. There is no excuse for any of this.
Okay.
First of all, let me just make that disclaimer. It was both radicalized and learned behavior, and innately who he was. To Willie's point, when you're talking about war and being in a war zone and you're in the wilderness all the time, yes, that plays a big role and has a big impact on you. But for people who already have had this homegrown, which is learned behavior, all it does is inflame, which is what is already in you. And so again, people don't just all of a sudden turn 35, get married, have 3 divorces and 2 restraining orders and say, I'm now suicidal.
Right.
And I'm now depressed. You've been having suicidal ideations. You just didn't get the help you needed when the seed was initially a seed. So every trial, circumstance, that army, military, divorce, everything that happens after that is just watering the seed that was already in you. It doesn't make it okay.
You think the media because he was an American who also was in the military, they're not really talking about that. You know, it's kind of like, because you can't be, it's always easier to talk about the Muslims and everybody else than the fact that he's been radicalized. But he was homegrown. Do you think that's on purpose? That they are not talking about that.
So the media is not going to talk about things that make the U.S. look bad. If you blame it on the U.S. military not being able to provide the appropriate etiquette, health care, and mental health for their soldiers, do you know how crazy that really is and how it sounds? So let's blame it on religion. Let's blame it on Muslims. So Muslims are international. We're known as Christians. So of course, let's not take accountability as Americans and say, listen, this is our problem again. This is something we should have did.
And that's all I'm saying. To the U.S., you know how you are treating your veterans.
Come on.
The enemy is not focused on our now. He's always focused on our later. And what you have done is there's a lot more of him. And that's the scary part. There are a lot more of him. People who aren't getting their medicine. They come back over here and they can't get jobs and they can't get treatment, and you make them jump through hoops to get the proper medicine and the medication that they need. People are actually working to get 90% disability, 80%, 70%. You got to go through a whole class and you got to sit in there for hours and hours and hours just to say, hey, I'm having mental issues. If people cannot get their medicine, and it's not a process that's going to be easy for our veterans, you're going to see this happen in the minutia of things, and of course in something so elaborate such as this. And it's really, really sad that we as Americans will not take full responsibility on what we are doing to our veterans.
And before medicine, if you don't get a diagnosis, I'm sorry, Bree, one second. If you don't get a diagnosis, how do you know what medication you need? So if you're not even going and you're not even able to see a medical physician, because a physician can also diagnose you and prescribe psychotic meds or antidepressants. But if you're not getting that, you're not getting the diagnosis, how do you know what medication you need?
And it's truly a slap in the face, because at the end of the day, this is a country that you put your life on the line for, to serve and protect. So that's why you see now a lot of millennials, a lot of young people, we don't even look at the Army as a way to go out, because we like, this country don't care about us. They don't care about the veterans that already served in so many of the wars. They damn sure not gonna care about us now. And to this point, I feel like as a millennial, we have seen this country play in our face time and time again. So when I heard that it was a black man, I thought, something ain't right about that. Something is fishy in there, because he was served in Afghanistan, and that's how he tied to ISIS. Because didn't they tell us that that's what happened with 9/11? But now we're having all of these architects come out and say there's no way that 2 planes could have knocked that out. That had to be exploded from the inside. So America never really tells us the full truth. So I honestly thought that maybe this man was bribed or told, if you don't do this, we will kill you.
I do feel like we're living in a Truman Show.
Yeah.
I feel like it's all like strategically orchestrated. Here's the thing, to those of you who are in the comments, we can feel you and see you. You like, well, how do we give them an excuse? Because there have been more excuses for people like Dylan Roof that have these psychological different ideologies. But when it comes to the African-American man, because it is so taboo, we won't even bring up the fact that he was a part of the U.S. military. We're going to blame it on something that's way across seas. The truth is, this is an American problem. And this is not the first time you're going to see something like this if we don't get our veterans help.
And we saw what happened with Dylan Roof. I mean, he was arrested in having fast food. And it happens so much that it's almost like we're becoming desensitized to it. But of course, they say that the planning of this was very methodical. I have friends that are in New Orleans, and we have to talk about this, because this is going to be a lawsuit that is going to be astronomical. If you think that lawsuit against Apple was going to be big, the fact that they had these barricades were 700 pounds, right? They were down there for Essence. When we went down there for the Essence Music Festival, you could not get up and down Bourbon Street. The problem was, if you've ever been down Bourbon Street, it's very, very narrow. So you have to be able to do deliveries and all this. And all the merchants were complaining, saying, man, we can't get our stuff because it takes too long to move these barricades. So 700 pounds in, 700 pounds out, they all of a sudden started to take the barricades out and started using these other things, and they basically messed up. And they were saying the terrorists fooled us and drove around and killed all these people.
And I think just ultimately the thing is, it's a lack of resources. Whether you're military or not military, mental health is a real thing, and the fact that you're not providing a service for folks who are giving us the biggest, most, to me, valuable service you can give somebody in their country, which is protection. that is some BS, and I think it's disgusting. As a mental health professional, I offer all of my veterans literally a discount rate, period. And I would hope that anybody else who could do that would be able to provide that. And that's not a black thing. It doesn't matter what race they are. If you're a veteran, you get a discount, and I try my best to service you as much as I can. It's only right and it's only fair.
So up next, experts say the U.S. is dealing with a mental health crisis among black men. Should we expect more mass casualties by black men and copycats? Unfortunately, it's a tough question we have to ask ourselves.
What I can say is DHS and law enforcement remain vigilant to any potential copycat. And so they're going to consistently, DHS and law enforcement are going to consistently evaluate threats and going to share the latest information to disrupt any potential copycats.
We're talking about when terrorism looks like us. In 2013, Christopher Dorner was a black police officer who infamously went on a shooting spree in California, killing the LAPD. Now in 2002, John Allen Muhammad and Lee Boyd Malvo, they went on to become known as the DC Snipers when they went on a mass shooting spree in DC. It's very rare to see African-American men conduct these mass killings. It's also worth noting all of these suspects, including the New Orleans killers, were in the U.S. Army.
Oh, that's an important fact, Ryan. And these men are being treated differently than other military men when they come home. Are they getting less resources to deal with, like the PTSD, like we were talking about earlier? We all know we always get ignored, especially in the mental health space. And we know that mental health doesn't have a racial preference. It can happen to any of us, but I think that when it comes to the resources, not only do black Americans as a whole receive less help, but especially maybe black U.S. veterans.
You know, the one thing that I do appreciate about veterans, they have this allegiance to each other.
Right.
So if it's a white person or a black person or one of my brown brothers, like everybody comes together and it's like the Underground Railroad. Did you know that they're doing this now? Did you know that they're doing this? But there's never some mass communication amongst the armed forces to say, hey, we're doing that now. There's no mass email. There's no Instagram page saying this is now available to you. So there's some things that just have to happen so it's not such an Underground Railroad. I was sitting there with my purpose partner. She's a part of the Marines. And this young lady, this young man came by, seen her tattoo and was like, who's a Marine? And your dad's like, no, me, because she's a pretty girl.
Right.
And he was like, well, did you know that this is happening? And if you hurt your foot, you can go in there and do whatever. And it's kind of like this Underground Railroad of information so they can actually get the help that they actually need.
And that's sad.
Like when you are training them and
you're
training and beating this information in, when you training in basic training, one shot, one kill, one shot, one kill, and you're putting this in them for months and months and years and years and years and years, and you do 20 years of this type of training, it's hard for them to even come out and be a civilian.
And if you've ever been to a VA hospital before, it is overcrowded, overpopulated, it's understaffed. They don't have enough physicians. They don't have enough therapists, psychologists, or psychiatrists. So those people are outside, hanging outside, waiting for a number for their name to get called. It takes months and months just to get an appointment. I mean, it's horrible.
Wow. You know, experts say the U.S. is dealing with a mental health crisis, especially among black men. Black men are 4 times likelier to die by suicide than black women. So according to the National Institute of Minority Health, the American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry has seen a 60% increase in suicide rates among black boys in the past 2 decades. Now, as a black man, those numbers are extremely disturbing to me, but not surprising. 10 years ago, as my cousin was out in the yard with my 16-year-old little cousin, he didn't want to go back to school because he was made fun of, because his parents were architects. And they did really, really well. And in St. Louis, we have this thing called the DSEG program, where African-American kids from lower income places get an opportunity to go to a better high school. And so some of the black kids who came from, kind of the lower income hood areas was making fun because he was articulate. And he didn't know all the hood stuff.
Right.
And they were saying that he was a snitch. And he begged his mama after one day to say, hey, can I just stay home? And when she said, you have to go back tomorrow, he went and made a permanent decision on a temporary situation. So this rocked our family.
Right.
This hurt our family in a way that we are still recovering. But we believe that every pain has a process to become prosperous. And so I show major love to my cousin Angie. You are a survivor and you are strong. And she's lobbied to make sure that other young kids don't have to go through this. And she has been such an activist for African American people to know that suicide is a real thing. Here's the truth, guys. A woman who is 40 plus years old, 35 years old, that's the average number of a child who's 16 years old. So when you came up, you didn't have social media. And so when you come in and you say, and they like, we having some mental health issues, most of the time mothers and fathers say, you just need to suck it up because we know what we went through. I knew I was bullied, but we don't understand that if we are embarrassed in one situation at school, we get to live that down 3 days later. If they have something that's embarrassing them, that's going to last forever if it makes it online. And that's a lot of anxiety. That's a whole lot of issues. And plus, parents, if we can be honest, a lot of times when it comes to our relationships and how we treat each other, that is literally moving African-American boys in a way where you literally have to be very, very careful. And here's the thing. It is okay to get your children help. Yes. I am the first to say, hey guys, I can't, this is way past my pay grade. Although I know what type of dude I am, man, I'm from the neighborhood, man, we can just walk through that, talk through that. No, I'm quick to call Dr. B. I'm quick to call Dr. Tart. I'm quick to call Love McPherson because I want to make sure that no young boy ever makes a permanent decision on a temporary situation.
You know, one of the things that I've learned is that when something bad happens to your younger people, your young children, you know, we didn't have somebody that came to us and asked us about how we felt about it. I remember, you know, my mother deciding that she was going to leave where we were living in one neighborhood, and I'd only seen a white person on TV. And the next thing you know, I was in the middle of a class with her. Nobody ever asked me about how I felt about that. Wow. How did that affect me? You know, and my aunt, who was a big fan of the show, watched the show every night. Unfortunately, she lost her life this weekend. Ooh. But it is the first time that my kids, who are now, you know, 26, 23 and 21, they haven't seen anybody that's passed away that they were that close to. And so the things I've been talking to them about is like, how do you feel? How are you feeling? They were like, I want to process. My son went to Tokyo to study. He said, I hate that I'm going to miss the homegoing part because they were that close. I think for a lot of people that are out there listening, when your child has anything, it could be anything like Willie said about being bullied or changing schools or the best friend moves away, you cannot just assume that they're going to be okay. Yes. You have to have a conversation. How are you feeling about this? Because how you can do that makes them become better individuals later on, because it's about the love words and the ways that they're able to express themselves. Well, I feel hurt. I feel discouraged, because later on when they get in a relationship, they're not all bottled up and they can say, you know what, you did something that hurt me. You did something that discouraged me.
It really teaches you at an early age emotional intelligence of learning how to pinpoint and articulate how you feel. Exactly. And I think parents oftentimes feel like, oh, you're too young. You don't really know what's going on, or they don't understand. It doesn't matter if they fully understand the facts of the situation, they still have a reaction and a feeling to it. Like you said, you might not have understood why your mama had to move to where she moved to, but you understood how you felt being in a new environment. So I think that we have to be understanding that no matter what anybody is going through at whatever age, there is something that you're going to feel, and somebody that you love should be concerned about that.
Right.
No, that's true.
I mean, the elephant in the room that needs to be asked, should we expect the threat for more violent attacks by black men to themselves or to others to increase, and why?
Dr. B, talk about that for me.
I mean, this is the thing. I know we're on another topic, but I gotta say this. Black men need to be seen. They need to be heard. That is a form of respect. Black men need to be supported. They need to be held accountable. And black fathers need to not just only ask your child, how do you feel? But if they know that there's a trauma response from their child that they don't even know if it is a trauma response, you should be reaching out to help immediately. You don't wait for the how do you feel answer. Don't wait for the expression of the emotion. I see a problem here. I'm undecisive of what it is, and I'm gonna completely get help. And that's really important.
Indeed. Thanks, Dr. B. You know, the internet is abuzz about the similarities in the second unrelated attack in Vegas just hours after New Orleans. A white man blew up a Cybertruck right outside Trump International Hotel, right there in Las Vegas. Now, the suspects in both attacks had a lot in common, including both were U.S. military veterans who had served in Afghanistan. Both were stationed at Fort Bragg. Both rented a car from Turo Agency. Both drove from their home state across country. The question becomes, is this really a coincidence?
No, this is staged. That's what I'm saying. If y'all have not been paying, have y'all watched Scandal? Y'all never fly. This is really,
That's
this is
fake.
strategic. This is what I'm saying. I don't know what the outcome of this is going to be for us in policy or political wise, but I believe it's similar to the same thing that happened with 9/11 when those towers blew up. Now all of a sudden we can't travel without them going through your stuff, and they have to know who you are. It's something coming from it, and that's why there's so many similarities.
And what kind of car did they blow up, y'all?
A Tesla.
And who owns Tesla?
What's his name?
Elon Musk. Let's
Musk.
not
The
be.
vice
Come on
president.
now.
And
Let's
he's
make it
cool
make
with
sense.
Trump. Come on.
Yes,
But the
and
one-
so
the-
this
the
is a
one
big
thing that-
tactic. Trump does all these tactics with this whole bird flu, with this whole
Exactly.
Tesla being blown up before he gets in office, so he can say, look at how screwed up it was before I got in. Now that I'm in, I'm going to make sure Teslas don't get blown up, casinos are safe, and the bird flu has gone away.
Yeah.
Or, hold on, flip side, there's a bird flu. Guess what? Elon and the other guy hits some Bill Gates and says, yo, let's go and make a couple billion off of that vaccine again. So he runs that play. It's all strategic. It's a money game. It's a money game. There's no bird flu.
It's always
going to be a
about
vaccine.
money.
Well, Elon
His
Musk-
homeboys want more money. That's
Elon
what it
Musk
is.
did say when the Tesla truck blew up, they picked the wrong thing to blow up
I bet he
because
did.
it kept the explosion inside the vehicle. It did not hurt the hotel. And of course, the Tesla stock went up.
Absolutely.
My point. Money game.
Money.
Money
Cha-ching.
game.
They're classifying this, though, as a domestic terrorism attack. But since Biden has been in office, we've rarely had any of these mass killings, which we normally call a white issue. With this being a new normal, because we're in a whole different era of Trump, or since it's been 4 years since we've been seeing something like this, do y'all think that we'll continue to see stuff like this?
Well, I'm always the first person that
Or will
says
this
that
be our new normal?
we need to quit putting these type of things on television because
Yes.
we keep seeing the copycat things over and over and over again.
Yeah.
You go all the way back to Sandy Hook and see, the copycats, and people want to become martyrs. They want to become, they're all writing manifestos. I think that the major news agencies, man, this was everywhere. I mean, we saw it on social media, every single place, and they all was cutting and pasting and cutting and pasting.
Ryan, they have to put it on TV because it's a money strategy.
it leads to rich.
That's why they got to put it on TV. That Tesla had to be on TV. He had to show you can blow things up in a Tesla. It's that safe, so go buy one. All of it is strategic. It's all timing. It's a perfect timing for their strategy for Trump to transition and do what he wants to do.
I agree that it is strategic, but I agree with you, Ryan. I think it doesn't need to be on television, not only for the copycats, which I don't really think they are because I think it's somebody else behind it, but also for our sanity. I'm tired of seeing people be murdered on television like it's normal.
traumatizing.
It is so traumatizing at this point where I'm like, all right, I don't want to see it, you guys, because I'm a human being and I have remorse for another human being's life.
Yeah. So, President Donald Trump, man, we listen. Here's the thing. We're not bashing you. We're not hating you. Here's the thing. You are the leader of the free world. But my question to you is this: could it be something that you can do for our veterans to make sure that they get the help that they need? If you want to brag or boast about anything, make sure that you help our military, and we'll salute you for that, sir.
So coming up on True Talks, it's time to hit it or quit it. We have a relationship that we think you'll agree it's quitting time for when we come back. And welcome back. Now, we couldn't call the show True Talks if we weren't candid about our relationship advice. So are y'all ready?
Yes.
What's it called? What's it called?
Hit it or quit it! Come on. So we've asked viewers to DM us these questions that they're probably scared to ask their friends and coworkers. So check out what one anonymous Truth Avenger wrote. She wrote this. Hey, Truth Avengers. Now, I'm new to the show. It's a young man. He says, my woman constantly sits around eating junk food while watching her favorite show. She just binging on shows like Law and Order.
Yeah.
Shout out to Ryan's favorite show. Now, here's the issue. He says she gained 25 pounds in the last few months. 25, a big number. 5 plus 2 is 7. That's the number of completion. He said he's done it. Am I wrong for wanting to leave her, as he's asking? Like, she's literally not the woman I met at first. She's a whole new person.
Added a person onto it.
No, you don't leave
She
somebody.
added a toddler.
You don't leave somebody for weight gain. I mean, if you want to talk to her about it, if you really love this woman, then it's deeper than some superficial, her little butt or thighs are rubbing and something got bigger.
Yeah.
This is your woman, you have a conversation, and if she's in a place of wanting to lose weight because she's not comfortable, then you support her in doing that with whatever that looks like, whether it's meal planning or working out but I don't think anyone should ever quit anyone over two things, an aesthetics of a weight or anything of that sort, or because somebody who has been doing good financially all of a sudden falls short. Those are two things where if you love somebody and you're really building with this person, then those are just evolutional normalcies that happen within a maturation of a relationship. Grow up.
Yeah, I agree. And she's happy. There's a thing called happy weight that you put on once you get in a new relationship. So
He's not happy.
But he's
He
not
ain't
happy.
happy.
But so this is what I would say. I would say work out with her. Be like, hey, babe, let's go for walks. Like, I think that it's so romantic
If he
we
works
go.
out, because sometimes the men saying, wait,
now,
they
if you
be
got
big
a
themselves. They be big
I was
themselves.
gonna say, if you gotta get money good, then you can't say nothing to her now.
it
But
called?
get money good. That's only if you got the money.
Now,
if you ain't got the money, it's just the good.
Law and Order Marathon is quite the spectacle. So I understand what she's been going through. I mean, you got SVU, you got criminal intent, you got the mafia one. That's 15 pounds right there. So, why are you watching that lady on her scale, man? You know what I'm saying? You got Haagen-Dazs, you got Cheetos, you got Doritos, you got the Aloe Vera, you got all that stuff, man. So you know what? Quit scale watching and let her watch her damn show, bro. Hell wrong with you?
Pocket watching. Now we got scale
watching.
Quit scale watching. Here's the thing. I just watched Luther Vandross's documentary, and I didn't know that so many times when people are going through something internally, like they turn to food. Like that was his vice. Like that was his thing. Like, for some people, you got to go out and get drunk. For some of y'all got to go smoke. For some people, they got to sex it away. For some people, they have to like just really get that comfort food. So here's the thing. Boys are going to make an excuse, but men are going to make it happen. So the question becomes, are you willing to create an environment to kind of figure out what's going on? The question becomes, is she worth it, right? A lot of times you don't realize that she may go to somebody else who's willing to create an environment that'll make her a lot more safe. And not only will she be having a good time, but she'll get used to going on dates and getting taken out. The question becomes, when was the last time we had date night, champ? So if you want to get her from in front of the TV, it might be time to go take her to a movie and dinner.
I know that's right. Well, you better take some accountability.
And that next man might like all that fluff and
Come
tough.
on.
He might be okay with that. He may not want her to bust a grape to lose a pound or 2 or 3. He might say, baby, go on and put that lingerie on plus size because you looking good for daddy. So let me say this. Y'all got to stop being superficial and focus on the things that are really going to sustain a relationship. It has nothing to do with weight. Yes, it's important to be attracted to your partner, but I'm saying at the end of the day, when you truly love somebody, you almost don't always even recognize that they're gaining 5, 20 pounds or losing.
Hey,
But
listen, I don't care. I like the look
if I love my husband and he get a little fluffy, I'm a fluff on him. And I always say this because y'all know I eat a lot. I always say my husband better love me because once I get to eating, I'm going to work out. But I'm going to be fluff. He better just love me and make love to it. And whatever comes with it.
I fluff and fluctuate. This is what I'm saying.
All right, so let's go across. Hit it or quit it.
Man, hit it.
Hit it from the side, the back, the front. Hit all the fluff.
Let me say this.
You got 10 seconds.
I got 10 seconds. I'm going to say this. Order a pizza from Doughboys, get some aloe vera juice, and then put some lingerie on her thing while she eating the pizza, drinking the juice, bend it over and hit it, baby. Hit it. I would hit that thing. It's a little more to hit, so just go on and hit it.
And you know what? The best thing to do is to watch Law and Order naked.
Why you doing it? Why you doing it?
Creepy.
You just watch it naked. If your significant other loves Law and Order as much as you do, it's
this is what I want to do. This is my perfect date. I want to binge Chew Talks. I want a pizza from Doughboys, and I want me some Haagen-Dazs ice cream, and I want Willie to stop looking at me, and then I want to be made love to. But you got to have Chew Talks on.
That's all the time we have for tonight. Be sure to follow us on all of our social and right here on Fox Soul. Good night.
Good night, y'all.